Hello, I'm Jill Stannard. Today I want to talk about something that keeps coming up a lot in practice. So I've been a naturopath now for almost 30 years, and this is something I'm seeing a lot more of it, and that's a subacute anxiety, which is just a symptom of stress. Let's not pathologize it. This is a way that our body tells us that we're stressed, and how subacute anxiety is manifesting in people who don't even know they're anxious. So a typical scenario is when we're acutely anxious, we have that survival response. You know, there's more blood flowing to our heart and lungs and muscles and brain, and we just want to get the heck out of there. It's that real beam me up Scotty moment. We all know that feeling. But when we've lived for weeks, months, and often years in a state of subacute anxiety, that means that our autonomic nervous system is still in primitive survival mode, but it's not so acute that we're constantly having palpitations or constantly having brain fog and brain freeze. So recently I was talking to a client who I've worked with for over 10 years, and I hadn't seen her for a while and caught up with what was going on. And what was really, really apparent is that she'd had at least 9 years of constant survival stress. We're not just talking about work's a bit busy, home's got lots of juggling. We're talking about life and death stuff. So when I said to her, "Do you feel anxious?" She said, no, I don't feel anxious. So this is the question I ask people who have chronic stress but don't believe they feel anxious. I said, do you ever have that sense of foreboding that something bad is going to happen to you or your family or somewhere in the world? For me, I park my anxiety on New Zealand's going to have another big earthquake and the people I love are going to be in danger. But I said, sense of foreboding or catastrophizing. You know, it's like I've got a headache. Then obviously it's not just a headache because I'm dehydrated, but I've got a headache because I have a brain tumour. That's the logical solution. So when I put this to my client, she had a light bulb moment and said, yeah, I catastrophize all the time. So one of two things may be happening when we're chronically or subacutely anxious, but not aware of it. It's like something may happen to trigger us a little bit. So our stress becomes more acute and we start catastrophizing. But quite often we will catastrophize when we're not noticeably feeling stressed. And my theory is that our autonomic nervous system sees us relax and says, heck, you need to remain hypervigilant to survive. This is all about survival. Wake up. And will wake us out of that kind of relaxed, happy state by giving our anxiety something to latch onto. And I love what Brené Brown, that wonderful social worker researcher, shame researcher, tells us. She says, you know, our brain needs to make a story out of everything to make sense of it. And even in the absence of data, it will make up a story. So the faulty story we may tell ourselves is something bad is going to happen. And therefore, whammo, we're anxious again. We're consciously anxious again. So I want you to go away over the next week and think about whether you catastrophize or have senses of foreboding. And when that happens, to acknowledge that it's happening and say, no matter what I believe I'm feeling, I have background stress. Slow your breathing down. Maybe do one of those stop techniques. You can Google stop technique on my webpage, jillstannard.com.au. But basically you're using your senses to bring you back to this moment instead of being in your head thinking about everything that can go wrong. You're smelling, in this case I'm smelling the jasmine that's on my desk beside me, or looking outside the window or around me or on my desk. I can look at my water jug and acknowledge it's a water jug. I can ask myself, is this really happening? And if it is, if there is an earthquake in New Zealand, what amazing superwoman abilities do I have to stop it or to change it? I don't. It's very uncomfortable feeling out of control with the world. But anxiety reminds us that we don't feel safe. So very quickly, how I work with anxiety is I try not to pathologize it. I try to encourage my clients to understand this is a physiological symptom of stress and teach people about how their body works so they can feel more in control of what's going on. If I understand why I've got palpitations, I know that I'm not having a heart attack. It's just a little bit of a panic attack. Now, of course, anxiety can be really crippling, and depending on that degree of anxiety, you may need medication. But for people who are just subacutely anxious, we can work with some fantastic nervous system herbs and some nutrients, but lots of lifestyle techniques so that you can be aware of what's going on. Have a think about whether you catastrophize and have a sense of foreboding, and then maybe if you do, you're welcome to get in touch and we can work together to make it better. Thank you.